In the history of war, power is usually measured by tons of steel, supersonic speed, and devastating firepower. But the greatest legacy of World War II air combat perhaps doesn't belong to a jet fighter or a giant bomber. It belongs to a biplane made of plywood and canvas fabric. A plane used to dust crops, and it belongs to the teenage women who flew it. They were the 588th Soviet Night Bomber Regiment. The Germans called them Nachthexen, the Night Witches. And their true legacy was not just the bombs they dropped, but the ultimate proof that human courage can overcome any technological disadvantage. When we look at the legacy of the Night Witches, the cold numbers are the first shock. They flew over 30,000 combat missions. They dropped 23,000 tons of explosives on the Nazi invader. But these numbers hide a brutal reality. Because their small U-2 planes could only carry 2 light bombs at a time, to make an impact, they needed to fly non-stop. Their legacy was built on inhuman exhaustion. Picture this: a 20-year-old pilot taking off in the total darkness of the Russian winter. She flies to the target, cuts the engine, glides silently, releases the bombs, and returns under anti-aircraft fire. She lands. The mechanics, also women, working in temperatures of -30 degrees, refuel the plane and reload bombs in minutes. And she takes off again. They did this 8, 10, sometimes 15 times in a single night, night after night, for 4 years. Their legacy is the very definition of tenacity. The second pillar of their legacy is psychological terror. The Night Witches didn't destroy massive factories. Their bombs were small. Their target was the mind of the German soldier. Their tactic of cutting the engine and gliding meant the only warning of the attack was the sound of the wind rushing through the wing struts, which the Germans said sounded like witches' broomsticks. They deprived the enemy of sleep. Nazi soldiers lived in constant nocturnal tension, knowing death could arrive silently at any moment. The Luftwaffe became so desperate they offered the Iron Cross, one of their highest medals, to anyone who could shoot down one of these wooden crop dusters. But the legacy is also made of blood and fire. Flying in a canvas and wood plane, with no armor and an open cockpit, was suicidal. A single tracer round could ignite the aircraft instantly, and here lies the darkest part of their courage. Until 1944, they flew without parachutes. The extra weight would prevent the plane from carrying bombs. If the plane caught fire, they had no way out. The 588th's legacy is marked by the 32 young women who died. Many of them burned alive in the skies of Eastern Europe. They knew the risk at every takeoff, and they took off anyway. Perhaps the most enduring aspect of the Night Witches' legacy is the battle they fought before meeting the Germans. They fought on 2 fronts, the front against Nazism and the front against skepticism within their own country. When the regiment was formed by Marina Ruskova, many Soviet officers laughed. They were pejoratively called the Panty Regiment. They received old men's uniforms and boots that were too big, which they had to stuff with rags just to make them fit. No one believed teenage girls could withstand the rigors of frontline combat. But they outperformed their male instructors. They flew in weather conditions that kept the best male aces grounded. They turned mockery into reverent respect. The 588th was the only one of the 3 female regiments to remain exclusively female throughout the war, from pilots to mechanics. They forced the male-dominated military world to recognize their competence. They fought from the Caucasus to the skies of Berlin. They helped win the war. And recognition came, albeit late for some. 23 pilots of the regiment received the title of Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. Today, the legacy of the Night Witches has transcended the Soviet Union and the war itself. They have become pop culture icons, subjects of books, movies, and even heavy metal songs. Why? Because their story defies logic. It is the ultimate underdog story. They took the worst technology available and turned it into a legendary weapon through sheer willpower, tactical intelligence, and suicidal bravery. The legacy of the Night Witches isn't found in museums of high-tech aircraft. It lies in the idea that, when cornered and underestimated, The human spirit is the most dangerous weapon in existence. They flew in coffins of wood and canvas, and they terrified the most powerful war machine on Earth. If you were impressed by the courage of these women, share this video so their story is never forgotten. And comment below, what other underestimated military unit would you like to see here on the channel?